Let's also be clear. The future is not just happening. The future is built by us, by a powerful community as you here in this room. We have the means to improve the state of the world. But two conditions are necessary. The first one is that we act all as stakeholders of larger communities, that we serve not our only self-interests, but we serve the community. That's what we call stakeholder responsibility. And second, that we collaborate. And this is the reason why you find many opportunities here during the meeting to engage into very action and impact-oriented initiatives to make progress related to specific issues on the global agenda.
This is Isaiah chapter 42, verse 8. I am the Lord, that is my name, and my glory will I not give to another, neither my praise to graven images. Behold, the former things are come to pass, and new things do I declare. Before they spring forth, I tell you of them. I want to say all praise Yahweh, Bahashem Yahushua, Bahashem Rakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone who rule well, and all the Akim laboring in the work, pushing out this truth. Shalom to the hopeful elect. We hasten for the return of Hamashiach, Yahushua, and the establishment of righteousness on earth and the destruction of this wicked kingdom. All right, I want to go ahead with my disclaimer. I'm not a member of Great Millstone, but those are the brothers that I listen to and I learn from. So I always want to make sure I give them their credit and give them their just due. I also make that disclaimer just in case I go off on any scripture or go off in any way. I don't want the ministry to be blamed. All right, so I'm not really sure what I'm going to title this lesson, but obviously the inspiration comes from a comment that Klaus Schwab made that you saw in the intro. And what he stated was, he stated a few things, but the main thing that jumped out at me, he stated that the future is just not happening, it's being built by us. And when you filter a statement like that through the scriptures, what is he saying? What is the future? The future is prophecy. So prophecy is happening. So not only is prophecy happening, but it's being facilitated through them as prophesied through the scriptures. So with that, let's go back and read Isaiah chapter 42, and we'll start at verse 8. It reads, I am Yahweh, that is my name, and my glory will I not give to another, neither my praise to graven images. And the one thing you got to understand about the Most High, he is all about his glory. He's in control of all of these things. Part of his glory is prophesying his word, making these things come to pass. He's not a man that he should lie. So the things he says are going to happen. You can trust and believe they are going to happen. And he's not going to give his glory to another. Verse 9. Behold, the former things are come to pass, and new things do I declare. Before they spring forth, I tell you of them. So the things that took place, the Most High told us how they happened. You know, the creation of the earth, you know, going all the way back to ancient history. You know, he told us of those things, and they indeed happened. The flood, he told us that was going to happen before, and it indeed happened. You know, now he has new things that he's declared unto us, and we're living in the time of these prophecies taking place. And he goes on to say, before they spring forth, I tell you of them. So I got some scriptures that I kind of got lined up, and I just want to hit them real quick, because just like Klaus Schwab said, the future is just not happening, it's being built by us. These things are not just taking place, they're being facilitated through them, through the wicked, Esau, Edom. And the scriptures told us that. So real quick, we'll just go to Job. And these are just basic scriptures. And I'm going to hit these real quick because I want that point to sink in. I want it to, to kind of streamline together. So this is Job chapter 9, verse 24. The earth is given into the hand of the wicked. He covereth the faces of the judges thereof. If not, where and who is he? The earth is given into the hand of the wicked. They have the power to come up with these different policies and agendas that affect all these other nations. The World Economic Forum and Davos and the World Health Organization, they're in the process of coming up with some pandemic treaty that will give pretty much sovereignty over all the nations in the world, pretty much. Now, not to segue too much, I said I wanted to hit these scriptures, back to back to kind of keep that point going. But since I did mention this treaty that's being proposed, I have another clip. When I get done going through these specific scriptures here, I have another clip that I'm going to play. Pretty much, it's refuting a statement that I'm making now, saying that they're trying to take away the sovereignty of these other nations. But the reason I'm going to play that clip is so you can hear the counter argument that's being presented versus the evidence that's being presented, their actual work, their actual legislation. So again, that ties right into Job chapter 9, verse 24. The earth is given into the hand of the wicked. Who has the power to make these laws? Who has the power to control how we live each and every day, where we're able to go, where we're able to work, depending on what rules we follow or guidelines we adhere to, and who sets these guidelines? So from there, let's go to Malachi chapter 1, verse 4. So we know that the earth is given into the hands of the wicked because the Most High already told us that the earth was going to be given into the hand of the wicked. These are some of the things he has declared. So this is Malachi chapter 1, verse 4. Whereas Edom saith, we are impoverished, but we will return and build the desolate places. They did return, and they have built the desolate places. Thus saith Yahweh of hosts, they shall build, but I will throw down, and they shall call them the border of wickedness, the people against whom Yahweh hath indignation forever. There's no other nation of people in the scriptures that has that title. There's no group of people called the wicked. There's no people that the Most High has indignation for forever. And these are the people that control the world. And what we always try to explain to you, you got your everyday Edomite, your everyday, Joe Schmo. Is he controlling the world? No, he's not controlling the world. He's benefiting off of his, nation being in authority. But one of the messages we try to convey to you is that among the wicked, which is Esau, Edom, you have a wicked elite. You have a ruling class who are really behind the scenes making all these things happen. So from now, let's go to Psalms chapter 64 and we'll start at verse 2. And it reads, hide me from the secret counsel of the wicked, from the insurrection of the workers of iniquity. There is a true secret counsel of the wicked. And what's been happening, these people have been in the dark for a long time. Secrecy has been their main weapon. Secrecy, lies, and conspiracies within conspiracies, so nobody can ever figure out, who's who and who's behind the scenes and what's really going on. But in these end times, two things are happening. One, the Most High is revealing this man for who he is. He's making Esau bare. He's uncovering his nakedness. Secondly, because prophecy is happening so fast, this man knows he has a short time in rulership. So he's pushing his agendas quicker and faster, and he's more out in the open now because he has a short time. They're getting bolder and bolder with what they're trying to accomplish. That's why you're not going to have any excuse for not being able to see what's going on in the world. But anyway, verse 2 again, hide me from the secret counsel of the wicked, from the insurrection of the workers of iniquity. So there is a secret counsel of the wicked. This is the wicked elite, your elite banking families. This is your council of Rome, or your council on foreign relations, the IMF. These are all your different think tanks and secret societies and Council of 13 and so forth and so on, who whet their tongue like a sword and bend their bows to shoot their arrows, even bitter words. That goes to their laws and legislations and their agendas, that they may shoot in secret at the perfect. Suddenly do they shoot at him and fear not. They encourage themselves in an evil matter. They commune of laying snares privately. It's all a private. They sit in private and set these laws, these different agendas, and they're really traps. And as we go on with the lesson, and I play some more of these clips and read a few articles, you'll understand how they lay these snares privately. They say, "Who shall see them?" And that's what they say, "Who shall see them?" But again, the Most High, because the Most High is shortening the time for the elect's sakes, as he prophesied he would do, he's revealing this man more and more. And because this man is being revealed more and more, he knows that his time is getting shorter and shorter. So they're getting bolder and bolder. It's like a revolving door. Verse 6, they search out iniquities. They accomplish a diligent search, both the inward thought of every one of them, and the heart is deep. So this is your secret counsel. These are your think tanks. And amongst these secret societies and these different think tanks, you have a wicked priesthood. This is all this all goes back to sorcery, gaining the control over the minds of the masses through manipulation, through media, through news, through misdirection. All of this is tying in, and it's prophesied. So real quick, we'll just go to Isaiah chapter 47, and we'll start at verse 10. It reads, "For thou hast trusted in thy wickedness. Thou hast said, none seeth me." Again, that goes into that secrecy. "Thy wisdom and thy knowledge, it hath perverted thee," because the Most High gave them the illumination in these end times. That's why they're in authority. That's why the world is given into the hand of the wicked. These are the things that the Most High prophesied. The future is happening, and it's being built by us. Prophecies are taking place, and it's being facilitated through the people that the Most High described certain things will be taking place from, i.e. the wicked, Esau, Edom, the so-called white man that's running the world. "Thy wisdom and thy knowledge, it hath perverted thee. And thou hast said in thine heart, I am, and none else beside me." Verse 11, "Therefore shall evil come upon thee. Thou shalt not know from whence it riseth. And mischief shall fall upon thee. Thou shalt not be able to put it off. And desolation shall come upon thee suddenly, which thou shalt not know." Also another prophecy. Because of all the wickedness that they're doing, the Most High is going to destroy this place, Babylon the Great, along with the other nations, because they have taken part in the fornication of the drunkenness of Babylon the Great, which is that false doctrine, different philosophies, and promoting these different agendas. Verse 12 is the point. "Stand now with thine enchantments, and with the multitude of thy sorceries, wherein thou hast labored from thy youth. If so be thou shalt be able to profit. If so be thou mayest prevail." They have labored. They put in a lot of work, a lot of research, a lot of scientific data into figuring out how to manipulate the masses. And really, this is all going into control. That's the end goal. And that's the next chapter we're going to, Revelation chapter 13. That's the end goal. They figured out how to suppress the VMAT2 gene or the GARD gene. They figure out how to, completely integrate man and machine, through the biometrics. And now they have the capability of controlling and tracking everyone. And they've waited for technology to catch up through their sorcery, at the same time waiting for the moral, the moral aptitude of the masses to be degraded, to be decayed, to be destroyed, to the point where they will be able to push this agenda upon them, and they will be forward. That's why the scriptures tell us, because iniquity shall abound, the love of many shall wax cold, and gross darkness shall cover the earth. And Salakia, darkness shall cover the earth, and gross darkness the people. The people are in complete darkness because they've been systematically fed this wickedness, and they've taken part in it more and more and more and more. Now they're completely dark. It's gross darkness. But not to lose track, verse 12 again. Stand now with thine enchantments, and with the multitude of thy sorceries, wherein thou hast labored from thy youth. If so be thou shalt be able to profit. If so be thou mayest prevail. Verse 13. Thou art wearied in the multitude of thy counsels. All of these different think tanks, all of these different councils, all of these different meetings, Davos meeting, World Economic Forum, WHO, all these different organizations. Let now the astrologers, the stargazers, the monthly prognosticators stand up and save thee from these things that shall come upon thee. This is your wicked priesthood. Make no mistake about it. Sorcery is here. It's just on a great level. CERN, mass controlling. What do they call it? They call it mass psychosis. Creating this collective thought process in the masses through protesting, through chanting. And you just see the people. The people are bugged out. The people are full of demons. They're full of spirits. And again, this is just to, mainly dealing with you Jakes, you Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, to have these spirits upon you to keep you severed from the Most High. Also to keep these spirits on these other nations, just so the world could be built up in more and more iniquity, and nobody understands what's going on. But the point, because they have labored from their youth with the multitude of thy counsels. Again, these astrologers. That's why you got, James Webb telescope being launched. The most advanced telescope ever created. They're studying the stars. They're studying the different planets. One, they're trying to leave this planet because they know what's coming. Destruction. Yahweh and the angels are coming back to take this man down. Also, they're trying to see how much time they have. They're searching for signs to see if Yahweh is coming through space. And they're looking at these things. Your monthly prognosticators are really just scientists. And again, what's the whole goal of all of this? The whole goal is Revelations 13 and 16. And he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads. And this is a physical mark. It's not a spiritual mark. It means it's something that's going to be literally implanted into us. Well, not us, because I'm not taking it, but into people. The charagma. It's not a figurative thing. It's a literal thing. Now, regardless of how small that technology is, it's still something that's created. It's something physical. Verse 17. And that no man might buy or sell, save he that had the mark, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name. And when it's going into buy and sell, it's a greater concept than just literally handing someone money for a product. It's being able to function in society. You're not going to be able to travel certain places. You're going to be restricted from certain places. You know, you're not going to have access to money, period. You know, that it's going into a deeper level of control, and we'll see all of that. But I wanted to run through those scriptures real quick, because these are the things that the Most High told us will be taking place in the last days. So I got a quick little news article or news clip that I want to play, and it would pretty much be refuting all the statements that I just made, basically. And it's meant to put the people's mind at ease and let them know that the things that they may be hearing is going on is not necessarily the case. But anyway, I definitely wanted to play this clip because we'll see the hypocrisy and underlying agendas of what they're actually trying to do. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and play this next clip.
On May 22nd, the World Health Organization will meet in Geneva to discuss how to best respond to future pandemics. Among the ideas is a U.S. proposed amendment to improve ways of detecting, reporting, and responding to public health events worldwide. Some social media users are referring to this as a pandemic treaty and are using the hashtag #StopTheTreaty to voice their opposition to the amendment. On a podcast hosted by Steve Bannon, former Minnesota Representative Michelle Bachmann claimed the amendment could give the WHO control over the United States. Several Verify viewers emailed us to ask about these claims. So, let's verify. Would the pandemic treaty give the WHO control over governments during a global health crisis? Our sources are the International Health Regulations, proposed amendments to the regulations, and the WHO. The International Health Regulations are part of an international law that outlines the responsibilities of WHO member countries, like the US, when there's a public health emergency. It requires that countries report what's happening and that the WHO offer assistance. Earlier this year, the US proposed several amendments to the regulations based on what we learned during the COVID-19 pandemic. They include adding early warning criteria, a request to provide genetic sequence data, and outlines a time frame for when and how countries can ask the WHO for support. It does not give the WHO authority over member countries. The amendment repeatedly states that countries can reject the WHO's assistance. So, no, the pandemic treaty would not give the WHO control over governments during a global health crisis. It doesn't give the agency any new authority and only outlines how they can help at the request of a member country. With your Verify, I'm Brandon Lewis.
Now, when you listen to a clip like that, the way it's presented, it seems reasonable, and it makes everybody else seem as if they're crazy, or the World Economic Forum and the World Health Organization is coming together to try to build this new world order, this one world government. They're all crazy. What they're actually trying to do is just set guidelines on, how to help people if there's another pandemic. But as the phrase goes, the devil is in the details. So let's get this right quick. This is Ecclesiasticus chapter 12, verse 10, and it reads, "Never trust thine enemy, for like as iron rusteth, so is his wickedness. Iron will always rust. If you leave it out in the elements, it starts to oxidize. It most definitely will begin to rust." And that's the same concept with Esau Edom. You let him go on long enough, he will eventually begin to reveal who he really is. Verse 11, "Though he humble himself," and they always appear as if they're humble. They always appear as if they're really just trying to help. This is all for the greater good. "Though he humble himself and go crouching, yet take good heed and beware of him. And thou shalt be unto him as if thou hadst wiped a looking glass, and thou shalt know that his rust hath not been altogether wiped away." Furthermore, what do we also know about Esau Edom? Let's go to Psalms chapter 58. This is Psalms chapter 58, and we'll start at verse 2. Actually, we'll start at verse 1. "Do ye indeed speak righteousness, O congregation? Do ye judge uprightly, O ye sons of men?" And this is applying to Esau Edom. Do they speak righteousness? Do they judge righteously? Do they judge according to the scriptures, the law, statutes, and commandments? "Yea, in heart ye work wickedness. Ye weigh the violence of your hands in the earth. And just look at the earth. Look at their track record. Look at their history. Look at their modus operandi. Verse 3 was the point that I wanted to get. The wicked are estranged from the womb. They go astray as soon as they be born, speaking lies. This is why you should never trust your enemy. This is why you should never trust Esau, Edom. This is why you should never trust the government. This is why you should never trust these organizations when they put out these damage control type news clips to try to sway you from what the obvious is. And we'll see what the obvious is. So with that, I want to play another clip. And then after this clip, I want to read a little article.
Albert Bourla, and he explains Pfizer's new tech to Davos crowd. You want to hear what the new tech is? By the way, he's not a doctor. He's a veterinarian. Not that I don't like veterinarians, I love them. Just want to let everybody know. Okay.
It is basically biological chip that it is in the tablet.
Wait a minute. Did he just say he's talking about a biological chip that they put in a tablet?
Mm-hmm.
Huh? Wait a minute. Hold on.
It is basically biological chip that it is in the tablet. And once you take the tablet and dissolves into your stomach, sends a signal that you took the tablet. So imagine the applications of that, compliance. The insurance companies to know that the medicines that patients should take, they do take them. It is fascinating what happens in this field.
Imagine, hang on. I didn't hear that right.
It is basically biological chip that it is in the tablet. And once you take the tablet and dissolves into your stomach, sends a signal that you took the tablet. So imagine the applications of that.
Imagine the application and
Compliance.
Imagine the compliance. I'll tell you that. Hey, wait, isn't imagining the compliance how these crazy conspiracy theories form in the first place? Because that was supposed to be a conspiracy theory. And now, what in the F?
You make these theories, you give them ideas.
And so now you can see this is the former veterinarian in him coming out. That's what this is, right? So he's a veterinarian, and you could see it coming out because what he's doing now is they're developing a LoJack for human beings to track us from the inside out. That's what's happening for human obedience, really. And that's how you can tell he was a former veterinarian, because this is the kind of thing. They're also working on a cone to put around our head so we don't look at misinformation.
That's nice.
It's really amazing stuff. It's really amazing stuff.
All right, that was a short clip from the Jimmy Dore show. And there's different clips of that actual conversation during the World Economic Forum between, who is it? Klaus Schwab and Albert Bourla. I think that's how you say his name. But I chose that one because of his reaction. And when you hear something like that, and they're speaking matter of factly, oh yeah, we're developing a chip that can be placed in a tablet to monitor people taking medication. That's the reaction you should have. Like, hold on, what? You're putting a microchip in a pill, so you're disguising treatment, or Salakia, you're disguising technology to track and monitor somebody under the guise of treatment, and ultimately it's for what? Compliance. And that's the exact reaction you should have when you hear something like that. And just to add some context, I didn't want to make the video too long, but the conversation was around, the thing that just happened. I got to use my words carefully. The thing that just took place, and people taking it and people not taking it. And basically he was saying, in the beginning you had a lot of people take the first one, but when it came to the second and third, not many people took it. So the question was, in the future, if we have something like that, how can we, make sure people take it? How can we monitor these people taking the first one, second one, third one? And I'm paraphrasing. You can go look the conversation up. And his reply was, well, we're developing a microchip that can be placed in the tablet to, track and monitor what people or how compliant people are to the medication. And then he mentioned combining it with the flu shot. So when we watched that, not the very first clip, but when we watched the news article, pretty much trying to put the people's mind at ease that no, the World Economic Forum and WHO and Davos, none of this is about taking the sovereignty away from these nations. What you have to understand, again, the devil is in the details. So is the World Health Organization going to send its own private military into sovereign nations to enforce their rules? No. These nations are saying, hey, we're going to let the World Health Organization set guidelines for precautionary measures just in case there's a next pandemic. And we're going to agree that whatever guidelines they set, that as a collective group of nations for the betterment of the world, we're going to all comply. We're going to all agree to comply to these guidelines. So if they come, so it won't be the World Health Organization dictating to individual nations what they have to do. They're going to say, hey, I think it's best if you not allow people to travel so much from this area to this area. We see that this next pandemic or this next thing is sparked up here. So, and I'm speaking in vague terms, but that's how it's going to be. We think it's best that you don't allow trade with this country. One, because they have a lot of cases here and they didn't necessarily sign up in agreement with the rest of the nations. So we don't want the nations that don't agree to, potentially contaminate the nations that did agree. And then these other nations, under the guise, because it's all a show, under the guise of saying, you know what, we're just trying to comply with the science. We're just trusting the science that is provided to us from the World Health Organization. These nations say, we're just following the guidelines. And they recommend another lockdown. They recommend that we make a hard push. So the World Health Organization might not say, we are demanding that everybody get vaccinated. We are demanding that everybody get juiced up. The World Health Organization may come out with a phrase or a statement. You nations should make it very incentivizing for your citizens to get juiced up. And we've seen the different ways, especially here in Babylon the Great, America, and other places, Australia, China. We've seen the measures they went through to incentivize. And here in Babylon the Great, it was just ridiculous. Free lap dances at strip clubs, music videos, free food, the threat of losing your job. Different ends of the spectrum, from giving you something to take it or denying you access to something if you don't take it. And that's what it's all about. And one thing I want to make mention of, this so-called pill, the government has been in the works of making this thing years and years and years prior. Just look up DARPA. They were already in the workings of developing a microchip to track. It came out recently. I think it came out last year. It made the news, or it made the headlines last year, because it was in reference to the thing that was going on. A chip that could potentially track the virus and let you know let you know what potential symptoms you may be having. But that technology was already in the works to track soldiers. Anyway, I don't want to segue too much. I wanted to point out that video to, again, pay attention to the details. But from there, I want to read this article because it ties right in with everything. So this is another panelist that was speaking at the World Economic Forum. So, and this is from the site InfoWars, and the title is WEF, which is the World Economic Forum panelist, brags about development of carbon footprint tracker to monitor your travel, diet, and spending habits. You have to be noticing the trend, tracking, monitoring. That's what this whole thing is about. It's about crashing this current system, the monetary system, the economic system, the government system, the religious system, and coming up with the new one. This is what the New World Order is. It's not some fantasy conspiracy. This is what's happening, and it's been happening in phases. But all things are starting to converge all at once because we're at the end. This is the appointed time for these things to take place. But again, let's read this title. WEF panelist brags about development of carbon footprint tracker to monitor your travel, diet, and spending habits. So we'll scroll on down, and this is Alibaba Group President J. Michael Evans boasted about developing a carbon footprint tracker. And this is what they do. This is what these Edomites do. They always come up with some new phrase, some new term, and apply it to everybody to promote their agenda. Carbon footprint. Nobody is thinking about that. Or I need to monitor my carbon footprint. These are things they come up with. But before they push the carbon footprint idea, out onto you, it's called the long con. They push out climate change, and I'm not getting into climate change, whether it's real, whether it's not. Obviously the earth is changing. That's not the point. But they push these issues out here. They make certain things a world issue, so it's already on your mind years prior. So when they come up with some technology to coincide with battling whatever that previous event was, your mind has already been conditioned to accept it and understand it. It's conditioning, it's pre-programming, it's social engineering. Again, the long con. This is the real devil. Alibaba Group President J. Michael Evans boasted about developing a carbon footprint tracker that would monitor your travel, what you buy, and what you eat. And why do you need to monitor that? Why do you need to monitor where you travel, what you buy, and what you eat? Because you already know where you're going. You don't need to track that. You don't need to track what you're eating. You already know what you want to eat. It's not for you to track. It's for them to track. During the World Economic Forum's annual Davos Summit on Tuesday, Evans explained in a carefully worded way that his company is currently working on a device that will allow consumers to monitor their own carbon footprint, because this is what consumers want. This is what you Jakes been begging for, right? You Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, you've been begging for this from Esau Edom, the so-called white man. He's finally come to your rescue to provide you with a carbon footprint tracker, because this is what you've been wanting your whole life, right? No, they push these things on you. They tell you you want this. They tell you you need this. They tell you this is for you. We're developing through technology an ability for consumers to measure their own carbon footprint. What does that mean? Where are they traveling? How are they traveling? What are they eating? What are they consuming on the platform? Evan said. So where you're going, you're not going to be able to travel freely. You're not going to be able to go wherever you want to go. Who you traveling with? Do you have permission to travel with that person? What are you consuming? You only need enough food or enough calories for you to consume. Who are you buying food for that is not allowed to buy food? Why are you buying all this food? That's what it is eventually going to come to. This is what Revelation chapter 13 is talking about. Why you got so much food? You only need 2,000 calories, and they're gonna cut that down. You only need 1,400 calories based on your biometrics, because we got all your biometrics. So what you doing with this extra loaf of bread? Who is that for? You wouldn't be giving that extra loaf of bread to somebody who can't buy their own food, would you? See? And like the guy said on the Jimmy Dore show, how did he word it? I think he said imagining the compliance is what breeds conspiracies. Yeah, because when you hear technology like this, or we're trying to do this, or we're trying to do that, you start wondering, okay, well, what you gonna do with that? But you only ask those questions when you know who the enemy is. When you just walking around through life thinking that this man has your best interest at heart, you never consider these things. And it does sound like a crazy conspiracy theory when you hear it for the first time. But when you understand what this man is, who this man is, so you don't understand who the devil is. Yeah, there is a spiritual demon, Satan. But he has a physical counterpart on the earth that is working overtime to bring about this new world order and have everybody chipped. See, the mark of the beast, it's not about some giant stamp, some big ass stamp that says 666, I worship Satan. No, that's not what it's about. That's what it spiritually represents. It's about this system developing a means to control everybody. And rather than people, mainly you Jakes, having enough faith to depend on the Most High to get them through, they're going to rely on the system. Because they're going to want to eat. They're going to want to buy. They're going to want to sell. They're not going to want to be without or be uncomfortable. So they're going to bow their knee to the image of the beast. They're going to bow to Baal. And that ultimate symbol of servitude is going to be accepting the charagma, the chip, the RFID chip, regardless of how big it is or how small it is. All right, so let's scroll on down. I do got a little short clip of the guy actually speaking, but I mean, you can go look it up. It's not really important. He's basically saying exactly what we're reading. So let's read this paragraph here. So, individual carbon footprint tracker, stay tuned. We don't have it operational yet, but this is something that we're working on, he added. And let me make this clear. It is operational. When he's saying we don't have it operational yet, that means we don't have it mandatory yet. Again, the government has already been working on this, not 3 years ago, not 6 years ago. They started working on this, I think, right after World War II, or right after the Cold War, Salakia. But the idea, the concept of tracking everybody, developing this one world government, that's been in the workings since 1776, going back to the development or the creation of the Bavarian Illuminati. But I ain't trying to segue all the way back there. And then you have different examples going all the way back to Nimrod and the Tower of Babel of man trying to develop a new world order, a one world government. It's nothing new under the sun. It's just that this is the time that was prophesied as the end. But let me continue reading. So, individual carbon footprint tracker, stay tuned. We don't have it operational yet, i.e., we don't have it mandatory yet. But this is something that we're working on, and that's what they're working on, the mandatory implementation. What Evans fails to explain is why a consumer would need to monitor their own traveling and dietary and spending habits when they already know where and how they're traveling and what they're eating and spending their money on. Exactly. Why would I need to have a carbon footprint monitor or tracker? And this ain't really about explaining the the absurdness behind it. It's to show you can't connect these dots. What's more likely is the development, Salakia, what's more likely is this developmental technology will collect this personal data not for the consumer's use, but for his company or respective governments. Measuring people's carbon footprint goes hand in hand with the World Economic Forum's Great Reset agenda, which aims to deindustrialize the West in the name of saving the earth. This is all for the earth. This is all for the better good of everyone. We're all in this together. We're all one people. Let's just love everybody. Let's just accept everybody. This is why they're coming up with these smart cities. These smart cities, they present them as if they're this futuristic idea, concept where you're going to have, Wi-Fi signals streaming up the sides of walls, and, you're going to be able to travel on roads made of, glass or solar panels and flying cars. They paint that type of image, but these smart cities are going to be just housing stations for everybody. They're trying to move everybody into the cities, get rid of the rural areas. That's why that's part of the reason they're buying up all the farmland, because they're not going to try to be able to track everybody. This is a worldwide agenda. This is what you need to understand. This is why they had Aborigines in Australia in remote areas, very remote areas, hundreds of miles away from major populations. Yet these Edomites find their way in these remote camps and say, "Oh yeah, we found this virus in your rainwater, so we're gonna quarantine y'all." And then they start separating the families, bringing them hundreds of miles away to these camps within these major cities. It's about getting everybody. So they're gonna get all these rural people, bring them in the cities. And these cities are going to be basically pods where they can track and control everybody. It's not going to be some utopia. It's going to be a utopia for them, for the wicked elite, because they're going to be in control of everybody. And they're going to get close, but it's not going to come to fruition. So again, what's more likely is what's more likely is this developmental technology will collect this personal data, not for the consumer's use, because what would you do with it, but for his company or respective governments. Measuring people's carbon footprint goes hand in hand with the World Economic Forum's Great Reset agenda, which aims to deindustrialize the West in the name of saving the earth. And they're the ones destroying the earth. That's another thing people don't realize. They always say phrases. This is just something that I really hate hearing. And I've always hated hearing, even before I came into truth. The concept that we're destroying the earth, we're doing this, we're doing that. It ain't us. It's them. They have these great big ass factories, these nuclear factories where they dump their waste in the ocean. These big ass coal factories where they're pumping carbon emissions into the atmosphere. It's them spreading chemtrails in the air. It's them poisoning the water. It's them poisoning the earth and the foods, poisoning the people. It's them destroying. It's them creating deforestation so they can build what? Malls or more factories or more plants, roads. It's them. They're the ones that are in control of everything. Everybody else is just going along to get along because we're in their society. In the name of saving the earth. The idea of monitoring spending habits also runs in tandem with the World Economic Forum's plan to introduce a central bank digital currency. All of this ties in which all transactions will be monitored, documented, and ultimately controlled. That's what the whole point is. And the clip below, French Central Bank President Francois Valeroy Del Gaulle, and credit, I'm not going to even try to pronounce all that, because I'm not going to even go into that, but it's all about control, and it's all tying in together, whether it's the metaverse, whether it's the potential for Neuralink to, give sight to the blind or hearing to the deaf. These are those lying wonders. These are those lying wonders and miracles that Satan is going to perform. Healing the lame, the paralyzed, they're going to be able to walk again. There was a clip, one man paralyzed from the neck down was able to use his mind, to write emails, open emails, write emails. These are those lying wonders, giving sight to the blind and healing the lame. This is the devil. And it all ties in. Cryptocurrency, the dollar losing its value, coin shortage, World Economic Forum, the Fourth Industrial Revolution, the Great Reset, climate change. We need to start figuring out ways to save the earth. Oh, how about we all take part in it? We all work together and we all monitor our own carbon footprint. The different agendas being pushed into schools, destroying the minds and the souls of the kids, pushing this wickedness and abomination. And again, all of that, there's different levels to that agenda, but it all ties in together. Getting rid of so-called hate, making everybody love and accept each other. It's a psyops. It gets you in the one mind type of mindset, a collective mindset, or oneness, a one world government, a new world order. Let's go to Habakkuk chapter 2, verse 5. Yea, also because he transgresseth by wine. What is that wine? That wine is all of his different philosophies, all his different doctrines, all his different agendas and ideas that he gets the people in the world to go along with. That is transgressing by wine. He is a proud man, neither keepeth at home. That's definitely America, Babylon the Great. It's Esau, Edom as a whole, because it's them during the age of discovery, right after the Renaissance or the rebirth, when they started to go out into the world and deceive the nations. It's them as a whole, but mainly America, Babylon the Great. Neither keepeth at home, who enlargeth his desire as hell, and is as death. Because wherever they go, what happens? death and destruction. They're either destroying the minds of the people, they're destroying the culture, they're destroying the women, telling them, no, you can be free. You don't have to be submissive to the men in your culture. You could be like the women over here in Babylon the Great, who yell, who twerk, who chase their careers, who sleep with whoever they want to, who live the Sex in the City type mindset, city girls or insecure type mindset, destroy the children with their wine and literal death. You either get down or lay down. You either get down with the program, you either get down with the wine, you get down with the agenda, you get down with it, or what? Bombs over Baghdad. Who enlarged his desire as hell and is as death and cannot be satisfied. The scriptures tell you, we read in Job 9:24, the earth is given into the hand of the wicked. They got the earth. The scriptures tell you they have more than the heart can desire. They have it all. Yet they want to control all people. And they don't even want to control all people in a righteous way, where like our government is going to be. The government of Yahweh Shai, Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai. We're going to rule in an authoritative manner, but it's going to be for the betterment of everyone, the nations, the earth, and righteousness. They control everything. They want more control, and they want to perform wickedness with their control, unrighteousness, and cannot be satisfied, but gathereth unto him all nations, and heapeth unto him all people. This is your one world order. But gathereth unto him all nations, and heapeth unto him all people. Verse 6. Shall not all these take up a parable against him? This is one, I say that about a lot of verses, but this is one of my favorite verses, because it says, shall not all these take up a parable against him? So when you apply what is written in verse 5 to a group of people on the earth, who is that parable speaking of? That parable is taken up. That parable is speaking against somebody. Who? Esau, Edom. Shall not all these take up a parable against him? And a taunting proverb? These other nations even taunt him with that. India was speaking with you had a representative from India speaking against a representative from America, because they were asking, why won't India take part in the sanctions against Russia? And this diplomat, or whatever his title was, he was saying, that ain't our war, that's your war. You started that war. You created that war. You got these different nations bringing out the hypocrisy of America, Babylon the Great, and NATO and EU, these European nations, and the charges they want to bring against, Vladimir Putin, and he's an Edomite too, but just showing the hypocrisy, the charges they want to bring against him, let alone all the death and destruction they left behind in the Middle East, Iraq, Afghanistan, India, Syria, other places. All these take up a taunting parable. Salakia. All these take up a parable against him and a taunting proverb. When these other nations talk about America, Babylon the Great, they take up these parables against him. Didn't you do this? Didn't you do that? Even with China, they always talk about the human rights atrocities that take place in China, and China was like, well, what about what you do to the so-called blacks? That's how they said it. And we're not black. I have to make sure we mention that, because there's a spiritual connotation to these words. Black means void of light. We're not void of light. We're the children of light. And that's one of the crafty sorceries that Esau, Edom has put on us, calling us black, have us calling ourselves black, and we do act black. And that ain't just for Judah. That's you Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. You all act black. You all act as if you're void of light. But again, the point was China takes up a taunting proverb against Babylon the Great. How you gonna talk about us when it comes to human rights? And look at what you're doing to the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. Of course, they say blacks. Look at what you're doing. You shoot them in the street. And what about slavery? Shall not all these take up a parable against him and a taunting proverb against him and say, woe to him that increaseth that which is not his? How long? And that's what we're saying. How long? But we know that the time is getting short. That's why this man is coming out so fast. That's why he's coming out with all these different agendas. They're all different agendas, but they're all converge into one agenda. Revelation chapter 13. And to him that ladeth himself with thick clay. And that thick clay goes into weight of pledges, which is debt, which is heavy debt. From here, I want to go to Job chapter 5, and I'm going to close out. Because, actually, yeah, I'm going to close out. I'm gonna read Job chapter 5 and 12. I'm gonna go back to Isaiah 42. Then I'm gonna come back to Job chapter 5 again. So this is Job chapter 5 verse 12, and it reads, he disappointeth the devices of the crafty, so that their hands cannot perform their enterprise. Their enterprise is the completion of this new world order, this one world government. So the future is happening. So prophecy is happening. It's being fulfilled, and it's being played out by the people who are building the future, these so-called Edomites. It's being played out through them. But what did the scriptures tell us? This is Isaiah chapter 42, verse 9. Behold, the former things are come to pass, and new things do I declare. Before they spring forth, I tell you of them. So the Most High has already given us the blueprint. So even though they try to heap up all these nations for themselves, although they're going to try to get everybody to take that charagma, and they're going to get most people, because most of y'all are just blind. Some of y'all are blind. Some of y'all that see are weak. You're going to fold because you haven't been taking this grace period to build up your spiritual strength. You don't know the names. You don't pay attention to the prophets. You don't search these things out in the scriptures. Because it's going to take divine intervention to get through these times. And not only get through the times, but to resist. Because the scriptures say you have to resist until to death. They love not their life until the death. So we read Isaiah 42 and 9. Because the Most High told us the things that happened before, and he has told us the things that are going to happen before they spring forth. And what has he told us? This is Job chapter 5 verse 12. He disappointed the devices of the crafty, so that their hands cannot perform their enterprise. They're not going to be able to complete this enterprise. I did a lesson before on the dollar. You have the phrase Novus Ordo Seclorum, which is basically translates to New Order of the Ages or New World Order. And then the other phrase is Annuit Coeptis, which basically translates to He approves our undertaking. Now, when you look up the root word for undertaking, it is enterprise. Conversely, when you look up the root word for enterprise, it is undertaking. So their new world order, their new order of the ages, that Novus Ordo Seclorum, that they believe Annuit Coeptis, is not going to happen. They're going to get close, but the scriptures already told us he disappointed the devices of the crafty. Yeah, they're very crafty. So that their hands cannot perform their enterprise. So I'm gonna leave it there. Now I'm gonna play one clip at the end. It's very short. It's probably about 30 seconds, and it's a part of a clip from from back in 2013, and this guy was just doing a CNET review, and he was mentioning a few different things that were going on in the the technological world, and he mentioned DARPA and some of the technology that they were coming up with, and it's nothing new. This Neuralink thing, it goes back to DARPA, and DARPA goes back again to right after the Cold War, during the Cold War. But anyway, I'm gonna end it out with that, and I'm just playing that clip because I thought it was interesting. But the point of all of this was to tie in to the prophecies. The future is happening, like Klaus Schwab said, and it's being built by us. So prophecies are taking place, and these things are being facilitated through the wicked that the Most High described in the scriptures, and it's taking place as the way as described through the scriptures. Alright, so I'm gonna say all praise Yahweh, by Hashem Yahweh Shai, by Hashem Rakah Akwadash, for putting the spirit on me to do the lesson. Hopefully it was edifying, and until next time, Shalom.
DARPA, an organization that I'm actually fearful of, wants to improve the health of soldiers and war veterans with a brain implant that will track neuron activity and provide quantifiable brain data. The $70 million project, called the Systems-Based Neurotechnology of Emerging Therapies, subnets in parentheses, is hoping to develop effective therapies for troops and veterans affected by the horrors of war. 1 in 9 discharges from the U.S. Army are due to mental illness. Subnets is inspired by deep brain stimulation, or DBS, a surgical treatment that involves implanting a brain pacemaker in the patient's skull. DARPA's device will be similar, but will only target one specific symptom, and will be able to monitor and analyze data in real time and issue a specific intervention according to brain activity.